Hi everybody, and welcome back to Lost Genre Reddit Stories. This post is from the subreddit Am I the A-hole, and it's by user JollyTooth7274. Am I the a-hole for saying my husband is a good father? When he was in his early 20s, my husband got a girl pregnant. They were casual dating in college, they had a lot of mutual friends. He didn't want to be a dad and told her as much, but she was adamant about keeping the baby. He was supportive through the pregnancy, but was clear he didn't want to be involved. He wanted to renounce his rights, but ended up with an agreement where he still pays child support but doesn't do visitation nor has involvement in any parental decisions. The girl is now 12, he hasn't met her nor plans to ever do. I met him 8 years ago, we've been married for almost 7. He told me about the whole having a bio child out there very early on. I am fine with it. It is sad a child came to the world under those circumstances, but I don't think he was wrong for choosing not to be involved. We now have a 5-year-old son. My husband has always been wonderful to me, that's why I fell in love with him. He was great during the pregnancy and birth and has been doting on our son and me ever since. I think he's a wonderful dad and husband. The problem. 2 of his friends married their college girlfriends, who were and are friends with his bio daughter's mother. In now 3 occasions in conversations where I said my husband is a wonderful father, one of them said something snarky and mean like, "Yeah, to only one of his children." Now, over the weekend, we attended one of the kids' birthday party. I was chatting to another mom about motherhood and said that it's easier when you have a good team player in your spouse. The homeowner mom chimed in to say, loudly, "If only the mother of his other child had the same." Later, I confronted her in the kitchen, said I was very tired of her and the other friends' comments about my husband, that she didn't need to invite us to things or spend time with us if she didn't want to, but it was super disrespectful to be constantly insulting him as a father. She told me she initially liked me, but finds it distasteful and rude that I keep praising my husband as a good father when I'm well aware that he isn't. That she will always make sure to correct me because it's not okay that he got away with what he did and how he now gets to play happy family with me and our son. The conversation went south from then on, and of course we left. The other mom's friend texted me yesterday to tell me she completely backs up what the other said and that I'm horrible for marrying and having a kid with a deadbeat, and on top of it to praise him as a good dad. I have no doubts about my feelings. My husband has been and is great with our son and with me. I guess I never thought how my words could be insensitive towards his bio daughter and her mother, whom I've never met. So, am I the a-hole for occasionally saying my husband is a good father when talking to people? Should I stop? I would like people to judge if I am wrong for saying my husband is a good father in this context. Saying he's a good father might make me the a-hole because while he is great with our son, I know he has another bio child that he did not raise. Okay, OP, in my opinion, you are not the a-hole. The truth is that he is a good father to your son, a good husband to you, and no father to his bio daughter. He's never met her. Personally, I wouldn't have made the same decision that he did, and I agree with you that it's sad a child came to this world under those circumstances. But he was within his rights to choose not to be actively involved. Had he wanted to be involved, met the child, created some kind of bond, and bail, then yeah, he'd be a deadbeat. But he didn't, and we know nothing about this child's or the mother's life. In any case, the a-holes here are those women that feel in the right to just say those things to you. Their judgment is irrelevant and unwarranted. So just talk to your husband. Tell him what's going on and that you want to cut them out of your life. He can still be friends with their husbands, but you just don't have to be there. And what is your judgment on this situation? Let me know in the comment section, and now let's move on to the community comments to see what they said. Black DMND says, not the a-hole. I was 16 when I had my son, his father 19. I had a crap upbringing, so I'd been raising my siblings since I was 10, so another child was no biggie to me. His father wasn't ready though, called me out my name, told everyone he could that the baby wasn't his, and so on. It was hell. Instead of being bitter, I let him because he made his choice just like I made mine. After our son was born, I sent him a photo. No reply. Around 6 months, I did it again. This time, the message back was that I want to meet him, and now they've been together every day since. People mature at different ages, and unfortunately, it's a little bit late for some men, but they shouldn't be judged on the actions they take because everyone has the ability to change. OP, your husband shouldn't be judged for a choice he made that was right for him at the time. Jaded Ad 2629 says, "You're the a-hole for having bad taste and talking and bragging about the sensitive subject like that. That poor 12-year-old girl who got abandoned by her dad, and yeah, he's not a deadbeat if it was in mutual agreement, but it's disgusting to shoving that down the other mother's friends' throats and saying what kind of a good father he is. More empathy could help." What is in a name 19 says, "Not the a-hole. This may get me downvoted, but all these people saying you're the a-hole, do you remember the post about the guy calling his ex a deadbeat because she didn't want anything to do with the child he talked her into giving him? She paid child support, more than needed, and requested to have nothing to do with them. Everyone jumped down that guy's throat, rightly so, for calling her a deadbeat, and stated she was within her rights to do that. Why is it different if it's a man? He didn't want a child then. He told her and she still had the child. He pays child support, just like the woman did. Is it because he decided to have a child when he got older and wiser, or is it simply because he's a man?" Additional information from OP's comments. "I have no idea how the bio mom feels about all of this. As far as I know, from these other women, she was super pissed about him wanting to give away his rights. However, he helped financially during the pregnancy and drove her to appointments but refused to be in the actual appointments with her, like ultrasounds and all. She wanted him in the delivery room and he didn't want to, but he did visit in the hospital to make sure she and the child were safe. I think that was the only time he briefly saw the child in person. She was not happy that he didn't want to be involved, but was ultimately okay with their financial agreement and all, and they've never had any kind of contact, good or bad, since then. The max they have ever spoken in 12 years is about her changing her bank account, so he needed to make the transfers of child support to a different account. I don't even think these women are in contact with her anymore. She lives in a different state as far as I'm aware. I think it might be their opinion, but I haven't asked. Now, as I've said in the post, he told me about his bio child when he had been dating for maybe 2 or 3 months. We had several long conversations about it because we were getting serious and he needed me to know that about him before deciding if I wanted to continue our relationship. After all was said and done, what I felt and thought, and still do, is that he wasn't ready and didn't want to be a father back then. He said himself he did always want kids, just not when he was still in college and not with someone he didn't love and didn't know much at all. I think he had a right to decide that, as much as the woman had the right to decide whether she wanted to carry the pregnancy and raise the child or not. I think I wouldn't have been okay if he actually thought it was okay to give away his rights. But when we spoke, he told me he later understood it would have been wrong to not take any kind of responsibility since he did contribute to creating that life. That's why he was fine with the child support and thought it was fair. I never once heard him complain about it and he pays it religiously. So I don't really see it as being an absentee father to one of his kids. I think he is not a father to his bio daughter, just a donor and paycheck because biologically he has a responsibility. But his choice of not becoming a father back then is valid for me. Also, our son is 5 years old. We have already told him about his bio sister in an age-appropriate way. As it is all very simplified right now, he didn't have much of a reaction, just a couple of questions about where she was and what she looks like. He has friends at preschool with step-siblings they only get to see some days, so he is sort of processing the situation similar to that. As he gets older, we will be updating the conversation so he fully understands the situation. He is very young now and we will navigate it the best we can, but I'm really not concerned about my son hearing about his bio sister. I wouldn't like him hearing people calling his father a deadbeat though. And regarding my husband's bio daughter, we have zero evidence that she knows about him or even about our son. That's up to her mother and maybe another parent of any kind to decide what to tell her and how to navigate that. I don't know that she would know that he didn't want her or love her. She could simply have no idea who her bio father is. Same as if he was a donor, which is kind of what he is in a way. He is nothing to her as far as we can tell, and if someone else made him be something for her, despite him not ever existing in her life, that's not up to him. If she ever seeks him out for a meeting or a conversation, he is open to that, but he still doesn't want a relationship or to foster a father-child bond. As for us caring about her, he cares as much as he would for any child he isn't the father to. He wishes her well, and since he contributed to her being born, he makes sure to provide financially for her to never be in need in that regard. But that's the only difference between her and the rest of the children in the world, he says. She is not a daughter to him, except for biologically. In any case, I would 100% support my husband if he would ever decide he wants to be involved with his bio daughter. Opie's edit. Even though I'm not the a-hole per the votes, I will stop all contact with these women, so my comments to them will cease anyway. My husband spoke to one of his friends today and seems like this is a lot bigger, but has not much to do with us. Alright, well I think we got some very good and varied judgment from the community, and OP gave us a lot more context. So now we're ready to move on with the update to see how this story ends. The verdict on my original post was not the a-hole, but people were raising concerns about my husband's bio daughter well-being. I also got advised to cut contact with this woman and tell my husband, Tim, what they were saying about him. So I spoke with Tim after I posted here. He decided to speak with his friend, John, about what his wife, Jane, was doing, and we will cut Jane off. After Tim spoke to John, we learned the truth. Turns out this wasn't about Tim or me at all, and I can only say what John authorized me to share. Even when this is anonymous, he prefers not to go into details. While still in college, John and Jane also had an unplanned pregnancy, and he wanted her to terminate the pregnancy, but she didn't. They were still discussing what to do when she had a miscarriage, early stage. They never told anyone because she didn't want to, and John respected her wishes. My husband never knew about this and felt terrible for them. While they moved on and eventually got married and had kids, it's obvious she isn't over it and harbors resentment towards him for his stance at the time. Since our son was born, it seems she has been occasionally unloading her feelings onto Tim because she feels this is how it would have gone for her if she didn't miscarry. This is what John said. I have not spoken to Jane, so I don't know her side. John confronted her after Tim spoke to him. They had a big fight because John did not like her actions and immediately saw what was the real reason behind them. He has been staying in our guest house for almost 2 weeks now, but we hope they will work through it for the sake of their family. She hates us even more now, though, for hosting him, so we are not really sure how our friendship will fare if and when they reconcile. The most important part of the update is that John contacted bio-daughter's mom, Callie, after fighting with Jane. He told her everything and asked her to stop feeding Jane's irrational feelings because she was taking them out on us instead of him and causing problems for Tim. Then Callie ended up contacting me on social media. This was an absolute first. We have never interacted in any way before, and I did freak out about it when I saw her first message. She was wanting to speak to me mother to mother and clear things out. So I responded and we got to chatting. Tim was informed. She said she wanted me to know she didn't want anything more from Tim than what they had agreed on, that she never fed anything to Jane regarding him. They don't even talk that often, and she wanted no part of this mess nor to be dragged into it. I told her that we had a feeling she wasn't involved in the situation and appreciated her telling me, but really this had nothing to do with her and I apologized if the drama disturbed her and her daughter. We got to chatting from there on, and she's a lovely person. She is married and her husband, Sal, has been in their daughter's, Ellie, life since she was about 2. She calls him Dad. They also have a younger daughter together. She knew about Tim being married to me and about us having a son because apparently Jane shared those things with her despite her telling her she had no interest in hearing about Tim. So I updated Tim on my chats with Callie all along. After some reflection and back and forths, we ended up having a video call, the 4 of us, Tim and I, Callie and Sal, just this past weekend. It was awkward at first, but we talked about Ellie mostly. We saw pictures of her, a beautiful girl. The gist of this is Sal and Callie have been wanting him to adopt Ellie officially, but they were honest about how their finances would suffer from losing the child support. Plus, the biggest obstacle was they didn't want Ellie to lose her college fund or trust fund from Tim, because they would have a very hard time providing college funds for both their daughters in their current situation, and all the more without the child support. They're not poor or anything, but they just don't have the means for saving away that much. Long story short, after this call, it was decided that Tim will renounce paternity and Sal will adopt Ellie officially. But Ellie will keep her trust fund and college fund. It will be up to them to decide how and what to disclose to Ellie as for where the money comes from, but so far she knows her bio father was doing his half of the financial responsibility. In other words, of course, so I don't think they'd lie to her about it. And in case you're wondering, Jay's friend, the other one I mentioned in my first post, is also someone Tim knows from college, and she ended up marrying one of his friends. She's basically a clique girl, just following Jane's lead. John is kind of convinced that this woman must know about Jane's miscarriage, which pisses him off because she was adamant they keep this between themselves. If I'm honest, I think he shared this with us because he felt she broke their agreement first. But this is all from John, so no idea how things really went. Anyway, she was just being Jane's sidekick and joining in her actions. On the day of Jane and John's kid's birthday party, this woman wasn't there. She did express her support afterward, and Tim did reach out to his friend, her husband, about it. I did not speak to him. Tim says he seemed annoyed and apologized, said he had nothing to do with that, and reassured Tim he did not think ill of him. Which was Tim's main concern, that his friend would actually be thinking he was a bad man and not telling him to his face. So that was that. We are not talking to her either, and not sure we'll attend events in the future if she's there, but it's clear it's Jane's beef with us, or well, with John. Anyway, back to Ellie, Callie, Sal, and us. This will take some time to be finalized. We only just started, and we still need to consider if and when our children want to meet. Which is a difficult topic to tackle, and we agreed to continue discussing it over time, but we're all happy. Tim says this is how it should have been all along, and Callie and Sal seem thrilled about finally being an official family. There was even a very nice moment when Sal told Tim, "You have a lovely family," and Tim replied, "Thanks, so do you." So that's it. Thanks, Reddit. If I hadn't posted here, maybe none of this would be happening. Wow, OP, this is a very happy update. Except of course for Jane and John, but they need to deal with their issues. But for you, Callie, Ellie, and Sal, this is great. So here's wishing you all the best in the future, and thanks so much for sharing. Take care, OP. And it's that time that we've reached the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed today's stories. I really did enjoy reading them to you. So if you did, then don't be shy and go ahead and give the video a like. And don't forget to subscribe or even share this video with people that you might think will enjoy my storytelling. Also, if you have the time, go down to the video description and check out all the links I have for you, from our Discord community to my channel merch. And finally, I'd like to say thank you for watching. It really means a lot to me that you enjoy my videos. And having said all that, I'll see you guys in the next video.